The following is a presentation on the UFSN network. Welcome to the UFAFL Nation.
Yes, greetings and salutations. Welcome into another episode of UFAFL Nation. I'm your host, Michael Skriz. Hope everybody had a great holiday season. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've done a show here, so we got a busy one today. It's going to be a little different compared to shows in the past. More of a preview episode, but it's a busy one lined up. We have Mike Nash, GM of the Stormbreakers, coming up real soon. Then we're going to do a little short UFAFL recap from what we missed this past weekend. And then a UFAFL preview because, guys, the wildcard races right now in both conferences are heating up. So we're going to break that down for you with a little NFL recap as well. And then all the regular bits that you guys all enjoy, stock up, stock down, Skrizzy's best bets, and all that good stuff. So remember, you guys can follow me at MichaelSKRZ on Twitter. You can follow the league at the UFAFL. And then the scouting department headed by Jamie Thomas at UFAFL_scouting. If you have any questions about the league, you can email us at info@UFFsports.com. And the website is down there at the bottom of the screen as well. I don't know if you guys have noticed the sweet little UFAFL hoodie that I'm rocking. And you can find that and other cool items available at the UFAFL store. You got the link right there. Christmas is over, so hopefully you guys got some gifts over the holidays. But hey, Valentine's Day, right around the corner, guys. So maybe get your loved one a water bottle or a tumbler, or for the boys, get the girls to steal these hoodies, man. We all know the women love to steal our hoodies. So thank you to Darren Bates and the crew for sending this over. Andy Mack, he actually sent me a T-shirt as well. I posted that in the one chat group. So guys, get all your UFAFL gear on you real soon. So why don't we start off by going to our interview, and let's bring in Mike Nash of the Stormbreakers. There he is, coming in from Edmonton. Mike, thank you for joining the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Not too bad at all. So I'm looking at what we missed over the last couple weeks, and Stormbreakers, you guys are making moves. You guys are 9-6. You're first in the Madden Eastern Conference. How are you feeling about the squad right now going into the second last week of the season?
Well, we just need to lock in one more win. That's the big thing. So whether it comes this week or next week, doesn't matter. We just need to lock one in, and then that'll kind of cement us in the playoffs. So it's a little stressful, but we're pretty positive going into this week. So far, the lineup is looking decent. No major COVID things going on in our lineup. But you never know. Everything's so last minute these days in the NFL. So it's, we're just hopefully everybody stays healthy.
So it's been a little bit of like an up and down season for you guys. Like you guys are right now on a 3-game winning streak, but before that you had lost three straight games. Do you think you're consistent enough right now to hang with the heavy hitters in the UFAFL?
Yeah, I mean, any given Sunday, I think that leaks its way into, fantasy sports too. So, we've got some guys on our team that, show up every week. Hertz has been, unbelievable for us for most of the season, other than, the couple weeks off. But yeah, he's been great. Kickers are people too. So, Sam Martin has been getting us a bunch of points too. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on how things shape up, coming into this stretch. Again, the COVID situation is really changing everything. We saw that last week with Josh Palmer, finally getting a little bit of time in the spotlight.
Canadian.
With the Chargers. So yeah, a Canadian, right on. Yeah, we actually our two rookies that we drafted are both Canadian. One from right outside of Edmonton here in Chuba, right? But yeah, to see Palmer get a little bit of time in the spotlight was great. So yeah, it's we can hang with anybody as long as our guys are getting some carries and some catches.
So I look at your roster, and your team strength obviously seems to be at QB. You talked about Jalen Hurts. He's just the floor is always there with him. and your offensive line is solid. You got some got some anchors back there, and the defensive line. But how do you plan to maybe address your skill positions in this league, either for the playoffs or even next year?
For the playoffs, there's no addressing it. We roll as is every week. It's unless there's a major shift with these free agents, filling in spots, from practice squads into the starting lineups. Our running back, wide receiver, and tight end positions we're rolling every week the same. It is what it is. Our ops meetings a lot of times are, who are we changing in our front seven? And we're usually swapping one or two guys in and out. It's kind of like the beauty of this league. We don't have to spend a ton of time week in and week out going, over who we're starting, who we're not, because it's everybody's on a team. There's no extra depth just lingering on a waiver wire somewhere.
No.
So yeah, we do a little bit of swapping around on our front seven, and in our secondary a very tiny bit. But outside of that, we're our offensive line, it's usually Browns, no matter what, and depending on if COVID's ravaging a team or if there's we're seeing some sort of opportunity with the rushing attack going into that week's matchup, we might make a swap there. But yeah, it is what it is. We've been fortunate that some players. It seems like every week we're getting one or two guys that just step out and step up, and it's been producing at least in the last 3 weeks for sure for us. So we're cool with what we've got, and I mean there's really no changing it. So it is what it is until the off season is what we've got.
Well, looking kind of forward to the playoffs, you're projected right now to play the Silverbacks in round 1. You beat them all the way back in week 6. Are you okay with that matchup, or is there another team that you might have your eye on that you'd like to get in the first round?
I no. It's at this point the only
matter?
focus is get there. Let's just get there.
Okay.
And then once we're there,
I hear you.
we can hum and haw about it. But there's some really great people have drafted really well. There's these teams that are just that drafted extremely well and have got a little bit more depth than we do. But get to the playoffs, everybody's going to be pretty tough. So we'll take whoever. We'll take whoever we get, and hopefully we come out on top.
All right, I like that answer. You guys are just a confident bunch over there with the Stormbreakers. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say we got to stay positive and work with what we got. So there ain't gonna be negative about it. It is what it is, and we'll keep moving forward. So yeah, that's the only answer you're gonna get out of us.
No problem, man. So the last question I have for you, every time I get one of you guys on from any of the teams, I'm always curious on how you guys got involved with the UFAFL, because we talked, and there's people from all over, not just Canada, but the US and all over the place, basically. So how did you get involved with the league? Are you involved with other sports other than football? Do you plan on maybe getting involved with more other sports? No? But how did you get involved?
There was a couple guys on our in our ownership group are deep into crypto. They're big into crypto, and a couple of us are actually in a band as well, and have been getting into NFTs and stuff like that. So it was just that perfect mix of where we see the future of digital assets, as well as a bunch of us are big fantasy football guys. I was actually out of fantasy football for years. It was just consuming far too much time. That whole thing, getting up at 3 a.m. to close on waiver wire deals and stuff like that. And I just had to put an end to it. I had to stop. And then my buddy Jeff just came forward and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity here." And then now I'm back in all the way up to my eyeballs and this stuff. So yeah, it's really just, like I say, that perfect mix of digital asset and fantasy sports. It's so much fun. So, and I mean, seeing it as being maxed out, the whole having anytime you see somebody on television have a big play, anytime somebody's rewarded in this league, and that's what I love. There's no leftovers on the table. There's no like guy who's not on a team somewhere sitting on a waiver wire that's racking up a ton of points and nobody's getting to enjoy, the fruits of his labor. So it's every team gets rewarded by every single highlight you see on the screen. So it's this perfect mix. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great point. I was watching that Dolphins-Saints game on Monday night, and no matter how bad the offensive is, both offenses, you're just like, wait a minute, the punters are going to put up a bunch of points. So like
Exactly.
It goes to what you're saying, right? Like no matter what, there's always a play where someone's getting points in this league, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Mike, Thank you once again for taking the time, man. Good luck the next couple weeks. Good luck I'm saying it right now, you're going to make the playoffs. So good luck the rest of the way. Good luck to the squad. Good luck in the off season. Maybe trying to get a couple more skilled players. Hopefully we get to talk down the line, and maybe your band can even put together an intro for the show. We could use another song. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys like country rock, then yeah, you come knocking. We'll figure something out. But I appreciate the kind words, and go Stormbreakers.
All right, thanks again, Mike. Take care, man.
Hey!
Thanks again to Mike Nash for taking the time for the Stormbreakers. They got a good chance to make the playoffs, guys. I don't know if they're going to make a lot of noise. The wide receivers and running backs, a little skeptical, but the rest of the team is real solid. So, Mike, thanks again for taking the time. Now, we got a lot of stuff to get through, so let's go through right now. We'll start off with the UFAFL top performers from Week 16. Joe Burrow from the Bengals was an absolute monster. It was like 525 yards, 4 touchdowns against the Ravens. If you go look at his stats, he's got 4,000 passing yards and 30 TDs. 1,007 are from just playing 2 games against the Ravens this year. He's absolutely owned his division rival. T. Higgins had a monster game for him as well. Joe Burrow's looking like a stud. And on the defensive side, DeMarcus Lawrence from the Crypto Warriors, 32.5 fantasy points. Dallas D was all over Washington. What was it, 42-7 after the first half, something like that. Trayvon Diggs over there, Micah Parsons, all those guys over in Dallas. Their Dallas defense is looking incredible. I actually think it might be the deciding factor in the NFC playoffs, depending how well those guys play. Dallas is actually looking like a legitimate threat, and it's thanks to guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. So congratulations to those 2 players for making the Players of the Week. And we'll continue with the UFAFL recap from this past week, where behind a monster performance from Joe Mixon and the emergence of Rashad Penny filling in nicely in Seattle, plus 2 touchdowns from Byron Pringle, the Doom stay in the playoff hunt after upsetting the Gridiron Seals. I did not see this coming, but right now the Doom sit just a game back of the blockchain bounty hunters for the last wildcard spot in the Manning Conference, and the Doom will now take on the 4-11 Valkyries. They should get that win. Let's just hope that they do. And defensive disappointments caused the Resistance to lose to the previously 3-11 Rowdies. What a disaster for the Resistance, and their playoff hopes are definitely in trouble. The Resistance, they definitely had a chance to kind of etch themselves in to get to 500, but now they're in a 3-way tie for the last spot in the Madden Conference at 7-8. And now they have to go take on a furious Seals team who's going to look to bounce back from that loss. Good luck good luck to the Resistance, because you're going to need it. And the Tiger Sharks are a perfect 10. Yes, Justin Jackson puts up 36 points, filling in for Austin Eckler in his first game off the injured reserve. And Isaiah McKenzie fills in wonderfully for the Bills as the Tiger Sharks win their 10th game in a row, defeating the Can West Gladiators. Tiger Sharks, right now, the 3 seed in the Manning Conference. They're tied with the Hydra at 12-3, and they prepare to take on the 9-5 Bounty Hunters, who need a win bad. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup. This kind of reminds me of a couple matchups we're going to see in the NFL preview soon, like the Titans, Dolphins, the Vikings, Rams. Like these guys are, one team's in, one team's looking in, and it's going to be a battle this week. I can't wait to see that. So let's go to the UFAFL preview, why don't we? So the Beast and the Rage in the biggest game of the week. For you wrestling fans, If you're familiar with like loser leaves town matches, this is kind of what it is. The loser's probably not going to make the playoffs. The Beast and the Rage, yes, this is going to be a tight one. We talked about the Resistance being in a three-way tie, so they're definitely going to be looking at this one as well. The Rage, they will play the Stormbreakers in the final week of the season, so this game's probably more important for them as the Beast. They have the slight edge right now after defeating the Rage just back in week 15. So like I said, guys, this is probably the biggest matchup of the week. And then sticking with the Madden Conference, we look at the CanWest Gladiators, who sit in the 6th spot, and they can use a win over the 5-10 Kingsmen to keep pace with the Beast or the Rage, because one of those teams is going to win. The Gladiators will need a win to stay ahead of both of those teams in the standings, with a possibly huge matchup against the Resistance in the final week of the season. So the Gladiators, they kind of control their own destiny, as a date with the Legion in the playoffs is the probable matchup. It's time for Jonathan Taylor, time for that trade to start paying off for CWG, and look forward to that matchup as well this week. Good luck to them. Now, we talked about the Doom earlier. Not only are they a game back of the Bounty Hunters for the last playoff spot, but they are tied with the Timberwolves at 8-7. So it's imperative that they get a W against the Valkyries, with the Timberwolves drawing the Manning North Division leading Paradise Blackhawks. The BBH are taking on the Tiger Sharks. So I like the Doom's chances of making Week 18 very interesting as they play the Tiger Sharks next week. So let's just look over at the NFL preview this week, because just like in the UFAFL, there's a lot of tight matchups coming down to the wire. I want to focus on two teams trying to get in, so Dolphins and the Vikings. They're both underdogs and must-win games for them. The Dolphins, they're on a 7-game winning streak, and they're heading to Music City to take on the Titans. It's weird because right now, if the playoffs started today, these two teams would actually play against each other. It'd be the 2-7 matchup. There's right underneath the Dolphins. So the Dolphins are the 7th seed, but they're 8-7. There's 3 other teams right below them. You got the Ravens, you got the Chargers, and the Raiders. They're all looking on the outside. The Dolphins need this win because they take on the Patriots in Week 18. The Patriots are going to be fighting for their playoff lives as well. They're still trying to get the AFC East title. And then for the Vikings, they take on the Rams. The Rams are tied right now with the Cardinals. They have the slight edge. They're both 10-5 for the NFC West Division lead. The Vikings they're in the 8th seed right now. They're on the outside looking in. A win over the Rams would be massive for them, because if you look at the teams at the 6th and 7th seed in the NFC, it's the 49ers and it's the Eagles. The Eagles are getting Washington. The Eagles already beat Washington a couple weeks back. And we know the Houston Texans right now, not the best team. They did have an upset win over the Chargers, but I just think the 49ers can run the ball all over them. We don't know who's going to play quarterback for the 49ers. It could be Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo has a thumb issue. But it's a big game for all three, the Vikings, the Eagles, and the 49ers, in an exciting it's so weird right now. You look at the AFC, it's only the Kansas City Chiefs right now that'll locked up a playoff spot. In the NFC, 1-5 is basically locked in. So there's 2 wild cards right now in the NFC up for grabs, and it's going to be between one of these 3 teams, I think. So a Vikings win over the Rams would shake things up for sure and keep Minnesota fans happy. So let's go over to the AFC. And the Bengals, we talked about Joe Burrow near the top of the show, or the top of this segment. Massive week last week, but right now, they get the Chiefs this week. So after that, coming off that high, I really don't know what to think of the Bengals. They've been such a weird team this year. So a couple weeks back, they only beat the Broncos 15-10, and then you're going to put up all these 41 points on the Ravens. Either Joe Burrow does well, but then in weeks 11, 12, it was like the Joe Mixon show. So you never really know what you're going to get with these Bengals. I don't see them beating the Chiefs, and that will leave the door open in the AFC North. Pittsburgh plays Cincinnati or Cleveland on Monday night. The Ravens are still in it, obviously, as well. So these teams are like the Bengals were, I think, last in the division 2 weeks ago. Now they're first, and the Ravens are jumping from first to fourth in the division as well. The Steelers haven't really made it up, but they keep winning. I don't know how. They're 7-1. I thought they were done weeks ago, but they're still in this race somehow. The AFC has been tight all season. It's just been weird, and I'm really looking forward to this Chiefs-Bengals matchup. And then the Colts and the Raiders, I want to talk about this as well. And this is big because We don't know if Carson Wentz is playing. He tested positive for COVID, and the Colts actually called up Phillip Rivers, who played quarterback for them last year. I think this is more of a I think because they don't think Sam Ehlinger is ready. Second-year kid out of Texas. He hasn't thrown a pass yet in the NFL, and I don't think they want to put their playoff hopes on this kid. The Raiders, the last 2 weeks, have gotten 2 wins because they played Nick Mullins, and then they also played the backup from Drew Lock from the Broncos last week. Sorry. So they're getting kind of lucky right now playing these second and third string quarterbacks. It could happen again this week. Now, if you're Sam Ehlinger, if Carson Wentz doesn't play, it's going to be pretty easy just to hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, who's obviously been awesome. He's like second or third right now in MVP for MVP voting, like if you look at the Vegas odds. But yeah, the Colts, they beat the Arizona Cardinals on Christmas Day with like backup linemen. Like these guys are just playing well right now. They're probably like the second or third best team in form in the AFC right now. So hopefully Carson Wentz plays for them, but if he doesn't, I think that makes that game a lot more interesting, and I definitely think the Raiders can pull off the upset. So let's move over to stock up and stock down. We'll try to get through this quickly. My stock up for this week, I wish I could have talked about him a couple weeks ago because he's not a surprise anymore. It's rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. He's owned by the Trout. 44 targets over the last 4 weeks. That's been pretty incredible. 3 20-plus point fantasy games over those last 4 weeks. And he's had an increased role because TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift haven't been playing. Now, Swift is supposedly coming back this week. But I just like what I'm seeing from St. Brown, and maybe not even for the last 2 weeks. We don't know if Tim Boyle is going to play. We don't know if Jared Goff. We don't know who's going to be at quarterback this week. Goff is still dealing with an injury. So I think he's just like, if you look at what the Detroit Lions are doing, they have a great offensive line. You have Hawkinson, you have Swift, you got Jamal Williams. They've got weapons. They're going to need a true number one alpha wide receiver. And usually when you say that, you think, okay, well, that's going to take targets away from St. Brown, but can actually open things up because they're going to line him up all over the field. Like he's proving right now he's a possession guy. You can put him in the slot. You can match him up against linebackers and stuff. So I think the future outlook for this kid actually looks really good. We've really talked about only Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle recently, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is making his name heard amongst these other great rookie receivers, and I'm really excited for the future of this kid. Let's go over the stock down. And this is just a sad story. I know I'm a Titans fan. I don't like to cheer for the Jaguars, but it's hard not to root for James Robinson. But his stock down is like he's my stock down for this week because he tore his Achilles this past week against the Jets. So obviously he's not going to play the rest of this year. But if I look at his outlook for the next year and maybe the year after that, so you look at what the Jaguars did this previous offseason. They drafted Travis Etienne, a running back, in the first round. So now that James Robinson probably won't be there to start the year, that clears the path for Etienne to take over that job. So that you're gonna have new coaching staff there. And then I also look at other running backs who have had this similar injury in the past. So you look at Cam Akers and Deontay Foreman. Those are the two that stand out to me. Now, Cam Akers, he had it this past July, and they're thinking he might be able to play in the playoffs for the Rams this season. So then let's look at Deontay Foreman. He tore his Achilles in 2017, and he hasn't really seen the field since this year with the Titans. So you don't really know yet how James Robinson will be able, we don't know how he's going to be able to recover from this injury. How long is it going to take? With running backs, you just never know, right? They put so much wear and tear on their legs, and the recovery process is obviously different for everybody. So we hope that it's more like Cam Akers, but then that kind of leaves a murky background for for next year or the year after that. There's no financial commitment to James Robinson, so I don't really know what his fantasy outlook looks like for 2022, 2023. So I just have to put James Robinson in my stock down. It's sad because he was a great story, undrafted. He came out of nowhere last year, finished in the top 5 in running back scoring. He was RB18 despite all the tomfoolery going around in Jacksonville. So I feel bad for the guy. Get well soon, James. But yeah, it's just a sad story all around. And we'll end off with my best bet segment. And I'm going to head back to that Rage and Beast matchup, break it down a little bit more. And the one thing, so the Rage are 18.1 point favorites over the Beast. and I'm actually going to go with the Rage. And it's mostly just because based on a couple matchups, one in particular that caught my eye, it's Tom Brady and Mike Evans going against the Jets. Now, we don't know right now if Mike Evans is going to play. 2 weeks ago, he injured his hamstring, and then he was on the COVID-19 list this past week, so he missed that game. And we saw what Antonio Brown did. And the thing about the Jets is usually you can just run the ball on them, and you don't need a lot from your quarterbacks or wide receivers. So I'm just guessing that Tom Brady, remember he played in the AFC East all those years. I'm guessing he hits the Jets. We all love laughing at the Jets. So I think Brady could put up a massive week, especially after that stinker a couple weeks back against the Saints. I think he's going to try to get in form before this playoff run. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup. And then Darrell Williams might see more snaps as Clyde Edwards-Helaire suffered a collarbone injury against the Steelers this past weekend. And then Taylor Lewan is also going to be back off the COVID list. So I just think the Rage have a little bit more versus the Beast this week, and I expect them to cover the spread. So guys, thank you once again for tuning in to this week. Sorry for the delay. Hope you guys all had a great holiday. Have a happy new year. All the games are going to be basically Sunday this week. You got the one Monday nighter, but we know that with the wild card chases, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on the league this week with a lot of important games. So guys, take care of yourself. We know what's going on with COVID-19, how much it's spreading. So I hope you and all your family stay safe. Thank you to D. Millard behind the scenes doing the ones and twos. Darren Bates, Andy Mack, Jamie Thomas, everybody behind the scenes at the UFAFL doing hard work constantly, even over the holidays, guys. Bringing this to you, one of the best fantasy football leagues I've ever been involved with. Take care, and we will talk to you guys next week.